Live and going into attack mode here. Morning, YouTube. If you're watching this as a rerun, you can skip ahead about 18, 19 minutes. If not, I'm just getting on here early, getting ready for the rest of the radio stations to get the audio levels, timing, and everything done. Here I got my poop in a group here. And go from there. Yeah. There you have it. Hopefully today is less windy than it has been the last couple of days. Good grief. Here at the ranch, we are expecting right now this morning it's 13 above, wind chill at 2 below zero. And winds today 10 to 20 miles an hour. That's a lot better than what it has been. 55-mile-an-hour winds last night. Not a good time. So there you go. Oh, is there crap for deer out here in the Badlands, or at least in my unit right now? Good grief. It is not good. Not good at all. Look at all these people going up here to the federal. They're stopping in and they're like, "Oh, can we go back there and hunt?" I'm like, "You can. I don't know what you're wasting your time for." "Oh, I've been hunting here for 30 years. There's always good deer back there." I've had 10 people in the last week and a half come out of there and say, "What happened to all the deer?" Like, well, evidently there's good ones back there because you don't believe the guy who fixes the fence and the damn thing. I'm telling you right now, we rode that whole thing. There's shit for deer out here, man. But what the hell do I know? Those guys come out for 16 days. They know more. Got one guy that got upset that that we had private land. Nobody should own private land, he told me. Nobody should have private land. Oh, well. The joys of people that wait to the last day that should have shot what they've passed on the first day. Morning, Karen. KOLY, ready to roll. Dave from Minnesota, good to have you. We got your wind today. Yeah, you can have it, man. Holy moly, was it windy. 2 days of that crap, and yesterday was definitely, it got worse as the day went on yesterday. Pierre, South Dakota had 54-mile-an-hour wind gusts last night. 52 at Trail City. Pierre at, let's see, Pierre Airport, 54. Town of Pierre, 49. Timberlake, 47-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Mobridge, 45. McLaughlin, 45. Yeah. There you have it. I guess it's that time of the year where wind makes shifts with the cold weather, and we're just going to have so much fun with this. Wish I could, like I said, we still got a lot of snow on the ground here. We're hoping. Cross our fingers, it's supposed to warm up into mid 30s, upper 30s for a couple days next week. And hopefully that warms things up enough to hopefully settle some of this snow down. Yeah. Excuse me. Settle some of this darn snow down a little bit, get some more winter grazing out of things. I didn't think I was going to start having to be on full feed the 1st of November. Scott Bulgy, how you doing? We're supposed to be in the 40s. Nah, you guys are further south. You always have that warmer jet stream heading your way. Although I'll tell you this, the corner where I live here in the Nodak corner side in the southwest corner usually has warmer temperatures than the rest of the state. Not so much South Dakota, but we have like this. Sometimes we hit that same jet stream that heads down to like Wall, South Dakota. Sometimes closer to Pierre area, but definitely not as warm as you guys are down that way. It's noticeably different. Yeah. I always tell myself, it always could be worse. You could live in Fargo, North Dakota, or Grand Forks. Yeah. At least when I moved cows the other day, was a couple days ago, when I moved cows on that first windy day, pushing cows right into it. At least we had a whole bunch of pine trees and the timber back here that we were moving the cows through. So it didn't feel bad until we got like out of the breaks down to the bottoms. And even then it wasn't that bad. But man, oh man, went down to the lease place and fed cows on the flat on some stubble. Oh boy, it's noticeably different. It's nice when you can have places to feed when it's out of the wind. So there you go. Oh. East River deer season opens up for you yonder over there on the eastern side of the Missouri River in South Dakota this weekend. Let's see here. Is it today or tomorrow? It is today. All right. November 19th for our East River deer, East River landowner. Muzzleloader opens up December 1st. East and West River antler list December 10th. There you go. Yeah, so like my rifle take, I don't even know here. Feeding cattle this morning, yes, I see a lot of windshield hunters. Oh, golly. I ain't kidding you. I've never seen so many road hunters in my life. You get some ugly days and snow on the ground and wind. And the thing is, for the people that live out and basically live outside all their life, the farmers and ranchers out there. I mean, you see once in a while, you get some deer that you might see from the road, but when it's crappy like this, I mean, you got to get down to the deep stuff. They're going to be in the windbreaks themselves, trying to stay out of this stuff. So you might see them from the road, but I don't know. If I was a deer and people have been shooting for the last 2 weeks, I'm guessing I'd stay a ways off the road and see if I could find some deep stuff myself. But what do I know? You get lucky. Some people do get lucky and find that big one that's rutting hard and not thinking very much and walks right in front of you. I have a picture of I can't show it on YouTube. I might get in trouble, but they're parked in the middle of the road. They can't even clean the snow off the county roads. So I'm done bitching about it. At least they're out there hunting, right? Just because I hunt different than they do shouldn't change things. I do get kind of pissy because I live at the end of the section line where some Forest Service stuff starts, so I get so much traffic. And I got 2 bales stolen I have no reason why. I don't know why. I mean, you're going to have a bale bed to do this. But, for 16 days, you got to lock up your fuel tanks. So, yeehaw. I think that's the number I used off of memory. Let's see if it works.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Arman. You're live on YouTube. Good morning.
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Glad the wind's heading east.
Yeah.
Guy from buddy of mine out of Minnesota says it hit over there this morning over there. And last night, I think up until about 10:30, 11 o'clock, it was just howling.
Yeah, it's still blowing here this morning a little bit, but not terrible.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I wasn't ready to get full on feed with my cows until probably January, February. And when you start 2 months early, it's there's a reason.
Counting your bales already?
Oh no, I went out this summer. I had the opportunity from a few people that gave me opportunities to put up hay in different areas. And I was like, you know what? The fuel and everything, it's so expensive to put hay up this year. But I'm like, I might not have the chance to do it for the next 3 years. So I went out and I did it. So I have what I thought was 3 years of hay, but it's not probably going to be that way this year.
Well,
This
I
is going
know
to take 2 years. Hey,
we've been lucky in the past years because I don't remember like with my horses, feeding until, gosh, end of November, end of December sometimes, just because there's been not much snow on the ground, so they could go out in the pastures.
yeah. Yeah, mine finally
So
started hairing up. They were like shivering for 2 goddamn weeks here, John, as I felt sorry for the old buggers.
I know I put one of my old mares down, my old rope horse, and it was one of those deals that you're waiting for. I was kind of hoping it would happen, because she looked like Ichabod Crane's horse, but she still had a lot of spunk in her. She'd come running in every day, whinnying, and she knew she got a little extra oats. And but I was thinking about, man, it's going to be tough to keep her warm during the wintertime. I redid my barn last year, and I actually even put heat on one side if I needed to. But you know how that is. That's not real good for your animal. So one day she laid down in the sun and she couldn't get back up, and I was like, okay, it's time to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad she's not out in the cold right now.
They got more horses that you can buy.
Yeah.
The horse market is so cheap right now.
Did it go down?
No, it's expensive as
I
all
can say
get out, man.
I heard it's terrible.
It's
Like
spendy. Well, it's not
weanlings
terrible if
were
you're
going for
selling
like
them.
weanlings were going for like 1,800. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. No, the thing about it, we were talking about, I was talking to my wife about, I got one, if you want to call the young horse, probably 17. And I'm, as much as I love horses, I don't know what I'm going to do, because it's like you're at that point in your life where it's like another horse,
Yeah.
which I've always had a horse, but then if I'm not using it and, making a living off of it and riding
John,
it every day.
hold that thought. Stations 70000 8 o'clock up front on Mark. All right. Sorry, John.
No. So it's like, do you get another one? Because you know what it's like. You got cows, you're married to them, as much as I enjoy them, I don't know if I'm going to get another one right now, unless I had grandkids or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do.
You're not far away from having grandkids, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's
But
the thing.
It's like,
I had one that broke its leg, had to put it down. So I was horseless for like a half a year before I could find something that was, something I wanted. And I was like, you know what? I was like so pissed off at that one breaking its leg. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe it's just easier if I don't. And then when I didn't have a horse for 6 months, I was like, this sucks not having a horse. So I went and got serious about it. And now I got 3 of them sitting in my corral. So I was like, everybody said, you only have one ass. That's true. But now I can take a choice of which ones I want to do, which I got a young or a smaller framed one that has a little bit more spunk. I have one that's just a hell of a roping horse, can hold anything and pull anything. And the other one is I'm wintering it for a lady that doesn't have a place to winter her horse. So I have a choice of them right now, and that's kind of nice.
Well, it is. And, and again, it's one of those deals. I'm not a pleasure rider. I do not enjoy, I shouldn't say I don't enjoy being on a horse, just riding, but I like doing a job with them. And you have a job. You ranch for a living. So
but that's pleasure. That's pleasure riding.
Right. It is. But you know what I mean? When it's like a horse that just rides the ditches or actually is behind cows and doing a job. He loves that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I don't ride my horse enough. When I used to rope and go down the road, I loved it. I'd ride my horse 4 or 5 times a week. And now it's like, I'm lucky if I ride it 4 or 5 times a month.
Yeah.
And I feel bad.
Well, the last Friday of May is my branding every year.
I know. And that's when I honestly was just thinking about it. I'm like, wonder if I'm having enough days off, but then they don't let you take that day off because it's the end of the school year.
You guys need to get out earlier, like a week or 2 earlier in the middle of the week. Who the hell gets out on a Friday?
I know. We used to get off like on a Thursday or whatever. I'll figure out something, because I was thinking before I get too old, I would really like to get out there and do that.
Yeah.
Levi said it was a good time.
And he left too early, though. He left before he got into the roping side of things.
Yeah, yeah. He said, well, and I'm sure you got some pretty salty ropers out there, so guys like us might look a little bit.
That don't matter. That don't matter. There are some, but there's, how do you get to be that unless you get in there and start roping more, right? I mean, that's just
No,
how it is. I
exactly.
mean, but no, he was riding one of my horses there and took
Yeah.
a big run the first time, a short run the second time, and you always got people that have young horses that need miles, so you take them, let them when we get back to our place here on the big breaks, we let them. If you want to take the big circle, get after it. Levi says he's glad to be listening to us from the comfort of his living room next to his fireplace this morning.
Yeah, he shot his deer last night, so I think yesterday morning, he's been hitting it pretty hard, and I think that he's kind of glad he's not sitting. Although he was kind of sitting inside of a nice little shooting shack, so I'm gonna give him a little crap on that. He wasn't out in the elements, so
he was waiting instead of hunting.
Yeah, he was waiting instead of hunting. But no, he's been grinding it. Now I think he's taking a couple of days off, and he's got time off. He's going to Montana. He's got a Montana tag now.
Yeah.
A lot of spunk in that kid.
Well, hey, we all used to be that age.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get out. I mean, we have shit for deer out here, John. We really do.
Yeah. What is, in the mule deer, I know it's been tough. I just talked to someone the other day again. He said the amount of people they're running into is crazy. He said it's not even.
They up the tag numbers in our unit, and we don't have any deer.
They do it. Well, we can talk about that one. Like I said, along the Missouri River. Again, I'm not a biologist. I'm just a guy that looks at deer every day. Going to work and stuff. And in my backyard, I used to see 15, 20 deer. I could go sit on the cliff and see 15, 20 deer. Last year I sat on a cliff and saw, I think 5. And throughout the summer and throughout the fall and everything, I think I can count less than 10 deer I've seen total. I don't know if they're the same deer or not. And I've seen 2 roadkills all year, which is insane because usually we have like one a week.
Yeah.
No tracks, hardly anywhere. And they still have a herd reduction season going on in Bismarck area, all the way down behind my house and Briardale and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand that.
Hold on a second, John. We'll talk about that. We're 30 seconds away from starting here, so stand by here. Stations, I'm going to go quiet until we hit the opening music here. We'll stand by, please. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Heard all across the Dakota Territory on great radio stations like KCJB and Minot, KLTC and Dickinson, K-Fire 550, the voice of the Northern Plains, Bismarck, Mandan, KOLY, Mobridge, South Dakota, and in the capital city, Pierre, South Dakota, KGFX. Good to have you along here this morning. I'm Scott Bachmeyer, your host, as we talk outdoors for a Saturday morning, your live radio program. I know that doesn't happen very often. If you want to call in, you can, and you can be part of it. 888-932-5682 is the phone number. That's 888-9-DAKOTA is the phone number. All right, you want to check that out. You can also text me, 701-425-6651. I'm live streaming on YouTube. You can join my channel there at Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio and talk with me and ask questions that way as well. Good to have you along here this morning as it is opening day for East River, South Dakota deer season today. East River regular season, East River landowner. It is opening day for you. And Jim, thanks for watching on YouTube. He says it sucks having to haul mail on East River opener. So I can about imagine. But maybe, I don't know, it depends on if you it's legal for you to carry a firearm. Maybe you can have a rack on the back and People that are getting their mail from you, they'll probably understand. There's no doubt about that. My guest today for the hour is Mr. John Arman from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. John, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
East River, South Dakota opener. As a mailman, would you carry it and try to find a deer?
Absolutely.
Me too. Now, mail. So we get our mail like twice, maybe 3 times a week out here where I live, and so we don't get it very often. And when you see the guy coming out, there's a good chance he's carrying something with him. Especially out here in my neck of the woods. I don't know. Maybe if it's in town, I can see that being a little different.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they have rules. I think because I think I asked, like, I got a buddy that did FedEx, and he sees and he goes all the way down to South Dakota. He sees all kinds of animals, but they're not allowed to carry a gun.
Yeah.
They got rules and regulations. But that's one thing, when people talk about asking people about and doing scouting, that's a guy you can talk to right there, is the mailman, the
Yeah.
UPS guy, the FedEx guy. If you want to know, because they cover a lot of ground and they're doing it every day.
Yes, they are.
So,
Yeah.
that they're, like I said, I know this gentleman sees a lot of animals, and that's how he had gained access on some of these ranches, is because he's delivering out to these guys that are out in the middle of nowhere, and he is one of those guys that is not afraid to talk to people, and he made relationships, and he's got some prime land that he hunts now.
It's funny you say that. UPS swung in 2 days ago when it was snowing and blowing pretty hard in this country, and where I'm at, and the UPS guy came in with a package, and he says, "This is the first year." He says, "I've been coming out to your place in 10, 12 years that he's worked that route." He says, "I don't have to worry about hitting a single deer." He said, "What happened?" I'm like, "There's no deer out here." What have you been hearing, John? The Badlands where I'm at here, we're struggling for deer numbers right now. All the hunters that got tags, they upped the tags this year for our unit. And every single hunter that comes out here, they're disappointed. They're like, "We're not seeing anything. They can't even see does out here."
Yeah, I don't know, especially with the mule deer, you would think that, again, I think that mule deer population has been pretty good, from like in our area. But last year, after the die off of whitetail, I think more mule deer got shot. I think this year, more people are looking, they're using that any antler tag for mule deer. And the guys I've been talking to, I just know that there's certain guys I talked to the other day, and he said he saw one whitetail. So I think some of these areas got really hammered by EHD.
Do you think the EHD had any issues with the mule deer? Because I was talking to one guy that butchers a lot. He just shuts down his meat market and does wild game during the deer season and elk season. And he says that all the bucks that are coming in, he said that there's some issues with these mule deer bucks. There's they're having some issues this year, and he claims that they're sterile. He says they're from last year. They didn't breed back nearly as well.
I don't know if they're sterile or not, but I know that there's a lot more with velvet. That they held their velvet last year after EHD. When you think about when you get sick, and EHD is fever driven, and when we get fevers and cattle get fevers, and any animal gets fever, it changes things. So I'm sure we lost some deer. I know we lost cattle from EHD. Every animal really is affected. This summer affected more. I know I never thought antelope got hit by it so bad,
yeah,
but they lost a lot of antelope down in Wyoming from it. So it was a devastating disease, that's for sure. And I'm just glad this year we froze right away, because I was worried it was going to happen again.
Yeah, well, I could have went a few months without having to go full feed on my cows right away, but I'll tell you this: it makes I enjoy hunting deer in snow.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I wait until archery season until December all the time, and it looks like this year just like last year, I didn't do any hunting because of the kill off and so many dead deer, and this year I'm kind of debating if I'm even going to do my archery tag this year, John. I fed cows. We hunted all day Monday and Tuesday. We went everywhere. We covered a lot of ground and saw 4 does and was it 2 bucks that were little 2x2 young ones. And
that's crazy.
even feeding yesterday, we saw the same 4 does, and that's it. So
Yeah,
it's
that's,
a little different.
it is. It's disappointing. I mean, there's no question, especially when you reach my age and you're getting there too. It's like, you just wonder if you're going to have that bounce back before a guy's done hunting,
Well,
because it
never
did
done.
devastate.
You're never done
No,
hunting, I don't think, but
no, but when you're out there putting in the time, and if you're 23 years old like Levi, it's like it's going to be back. But when you're 58, almost 60 years old, I believe it's going to take at least 10 years to get even. Um, and again, we got this hard winter coming on, so if this continues the way we have the pattern right now, we could lose, a few deer over the winter time too. So Mother Nature can be cruel, that's for sure.
So you're saying I'm closer to 58, which I'm not, by the way, just because I did the no shave November, John, and my beard is completely gray, except for a couple
Yeah.
streaks. Doesn't mean that I aged myself 10 more years. No, come on.
I don't know how old you are. What are you? You're
48.
you're 48. Well,
I'm
shit,
getting up
that's
there
pretty.
though. I'm getting closer.
Okay, I'm almost 60 and you're almost 50.
There you go.
So there you go. And it's, like I said, it's tough. Everything's changed in the hunting world. I think that you and I grew up in the glory days, whether it be pheasants, deer, or whatever. I don't know if it's going to ever be that way again, just because of the number of people we have on this earth. The amount of and again, to me, it's different west than it is east, because we don't farm, so we have cover. But you start looking at eastern North Dakota and the farming practices, and I got nothing against any farmer that's trying to make a living. None. But again, if you want animals, you can't farm from road to road without cover. Corn and soybeans don't give you cover for animals. I mean, it gives you feed, but you have to have some habitat, and we got to look at that. We got to start looking at. I think one of the reasons we do have a drop in wildlife everywhere is because of the amount of habitat. Because if you look back at CRP, and even though CRP was not meant for animals, it had a great effect on our wildlife, and it gave us.
Hold that thought right there, John. We'll be back with more with John Arman right after this. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
Did you know that Dakota Community Bank and Trust was recently named North Dakota's best small bank in Newsweek's America's Best Banks 2021? According to Newsweek, from over 2,500 FDIC-insured institutions, we are amongst the nation's top banks to serve our customers' needs in today's challenging times, ranking number one in North Dakota. We invite you to come bank with us. Stop in today to your nearest Dakota Community Bank and Trust and see what being America's best small bank is all about.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists. Pfeiffer's Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Pfeiffer's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby. For more information or land updates, go to Pfeiffers.com.
Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton.
For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your locally owned hometown bank, an honor we take great pride in. And our customer satisfaction has always been our most important goal. We've gone along with the communities we serve and will continue to do so with our pledge of modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. From remote deposit options to online mortgage applications, we are happy to serve you wherever you are. Learn more at dakotacommunitybank.com. That's dakotacommunitybank.com.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Pfeiffer's Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Pfeiffer's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby. For more information or land updates, go to Pfeiffers.com.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition coming at you here from the ranch here and all across the Dakota Territory and great radio stations. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support this program live. And I'm going to say local because, you know, I don't care where you're at here. We consider everybody neighbors. John Arman's my guest here. When we took off here, before I cut you off and where we had to hit the break, John, you were talking about CRP and how it's different than it was years ago. And we had a little discussion offline here, I guess. But, you know, I'm thinking that I got a few comments. People are going to comment on this because there's no doubt about it. But I still think, you know, from when I was growing up, you know, we cultivated, we had small grains, we did that. I still think the farming practices are better than what they used to be. But, I mean, also we were talking about areas. Maybe some areas were never meant to hold, you know, a lot of population. Not every place is supposed to have a big population of whatever it's supposed to be.
No, and I think that when you talk about that, the key factor, no matter what, when I look at, so where our ranch is at, for example, if I took the surrounding properties on there and you looked at where the most deer are at, it's going to be where there's the most feed and most cover.
Correct.
So
that I agree with. Yes.
So I think Eastern North Dakota could hold as many or more deer than Western North Dakota because if they had the cover and the feed. They got the feed, but there's a cover there. And again, so it's like some areas, like you said, maybe if you're looking at desert areas compared to Western, but I think if you have good land, the better cover, the more food you have, the more animals you're going to have, and the pressure, of course.
So what do you consider cover? I guess maybe that's where we need to start because my cover and your cover might be two different things.
Well, if you're looking at so our ranch, for example, we have certain pastures that we flash graze. We got draws, coolies where there's cattle not in them at the time, all the time. Just a good ranching practice where you're rotating your pastures. You're not grazing them down. Areas that we don't go into per se. We may travel through there, farming and ranching. The animals are used to it, but we're not stomping around. Up top, we have the CRP grasses, the native grasses in the pastures. We have browse because animals, to me, most importantly, they need good browse. And if you graze your pastures down, your cattle eat your trees. They'll eat your leaves. They'll do everything the horses do. If you graze it down to nothing, it's not going to be good for your farming or ranching practice because you're not going to have a place to. That's why we rotate pastures, and you see good people that have good cattle and have good practices. They rotate. They do different things to make it sustainable each year. And I think
I'm in agreement with you on everything that you're saying. What I'm kind of thinking in my head was when I travel East River, and I'm talking far east, I'm looking at flat ground where the only trees that you usually see have either been planted in straight rows or around farmsteads.
Yeah.
Okay. They were planted. They were never naturally there. Okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, when you're talking East River for cover, I'm thinking, well, you're talking tree rows. And the only way, and everybody gets mad. Some of these farmers that are ripping out old tree rows that are no longer live, maybe they're ripping out live ones. I got some comments about that we'll get to here, but those are planted in there, and the farmsteads the trees are planted there. They were never meant nature wise to be there. They were never there. They grow well there. There's no doubt about it because of the soils. But, you look back, look back at a picture of Bismarck from the early times when the capital used to be the only thing around that area. There was no trees there either.
Right. And I think that if you look at North Dakota in general, that I would say 80% of the trees in North Dakota have been planted by man somehow. You think about it, even out by our places.
Right. But except for the west river, you get. Yeah.
Yeah. The rivers and the draws. But the pine trees and I look just in my neighborhood here, the amount of deer that we hold in these neighborhoods because these guys got 2-3 acres and their trees have grown. So tree rows are huge, especially out east. And again, I can't blame, if there's no reason to plant trees, some of these guys aren't going to plant trees, and I can't blame them for it.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to make a living off of it. So I don't know what the answer is on some of those places. I just know that if you want animals, you have to be a steward of the land somehow. And
absolutely. That I agree with. Let's get to some of the comments before I don't here. Mike says, big thing that has hurt wildlife populations where I hunt is ripping out all of the old farmsteads and tree belts to squeeze out some extra acres. Text message comes in, says, I don't think it's a secret anymore that older stands of CRP don't hold any pheasants, but deer still utilize them somewhat if there's a food source nearby. Tim says, I agree with John about habitat availability. Many of the grain farmers around his area are eliminating the shelter belts and burn off the cattail potholes in the fall. And he also followed that. He says, in my area, the shelter belts eliminated where we live too. And that's the thing is what I'm getting to is those were planted, right? Those shelter belts and everything were planted. And not everybody does this. And I'm not going to harp on the farmers that are doing it, the ones that don't do it. There's still a lot of people out there that leave strip of crop, whether it's wheat or oats or soybeans or corn or sunflowers. There's still guys that like to leave strips out there. There's no doubt. Darren says farm equipment is a lot bigger nowadays than it was back when those trees were planted too. So yeah, there's no doubt. So, I guess you can look at it many different ways. We weren't around, John, when those tree rows were planted back then.
No.
So, we don't know that.
I think it's one of those deals that everybody would agree that whether you're a farmer, rancher, hunter, average guy, you're going to make sacrifices in your lifetime if you want to have better hunting, better populations, no matter what, whether you're passing up on a deer when deer are younger, whether you're eating your tag because the numbers are down. People have to. It's one of those deals. CRP, same thing. I totally agree. Like we have a CRP field right now that we need to replant because it's just hay right now, which is good. We hay it and we strip hay it, but CRP to me, some of the prime time of pheasant hunt we ever had was those first couple of years where it was the gnarliest tumbleweed and weeds that you've ever seen, because those birds liked the seeds in it. And it was still, I remember the days of CRP with the amount of deer we had in those places. So people have to make sacrifices, and it's whether you want, and we're lucky that we were given a ranch that we can manage for wildlife, and we don't manage it for cattle, even though we run cows on it, and it sustains a herd. And
but it can be run both ways. The
absolutely.
wildlife
Yes.
and agriculture side mesh so good together.
They do, and that's what we do. We because I don't want to run cows because I don't want to be married to them, but we wouldn't, the places that we don't have cattle on, we still try to graze those, because that it's so important to get that new growth and do everything. And that's, again, do cows and deer mix? Yes. Do they like each other? I don't know. But I found in the middle of wintertime, the deer right in the cattle herd. During rifle season, they may be there. So I think you can run them together. And if you do it, again, good management. If you're a good rancher and you rotate your pastures and do the things you do, I think you're going to have more wildlife. And I'm not telling them that's what they have to do, because I'm not a rancher. You ranch, I don't. But I guarantee you that you don't burn your pastures down every year. You rotate your pastures. It's just good common practice nowadays.
It's kind of interesting you say that. This year on the lease place that I have, we have to sign up with the Forest Service and the grazing office in January on how we're going to rotate those pastures. And we were still in a drought this January all the way up until middle of April, right? I mean, that's how it was. So, it's hard to say what we're going to do. And we were like, well, in order to keep the numbers that we have, we're going to attempt to do a twice over rotation, graze it shorter, move more often, and just keep rotating. Well, then we got all the moisture and the grass started growing, but we still had to stick with it. It was the best thing that I've ever seen. These calves and cows came off looking better. The pastures never got overrun. They never got overgrazed. It just looked so good. It was a lot of work to do that, because, there's a lot of rotations, but there's no doubt about it. There's different ways of going about it. And when it comes to the farming side, I'm going to let farmers call in and talk about that. But we're up against a half-hour break here. John, stand by. We're going to come back and talk about deer management. And, you kind of got me started on thinking maybe people need to start shooting the right buck, or maybe they're taking too many. We'll see. We'll talk about that. It's all coming up on the second half of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Join me, please, if you will. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
Did you know that Dakota Community Bank and Trust was recently named North Dakota's best small bank in Newsweek's America's Best Banks 2021? According to Newsweek, from over 2,500 FDIC-insured institutions, we are amongst the nation's top banks to serve our customers' needs in today's challenging times, ranking number one in North Dakota. We invite you to come bank with us. Stop in today to your nearest Dakota Community Bank and Trust and see what being America's best small bank is all about.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Piper's Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Piper's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby. For more information or land updates, go to pifers.com.
Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton.
For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your locally owned hometown bank, an honor we take great pride in, and our customer satisfaction has always been our most important goal. We've gone along with the communities we serve and will continue to do so with our pledge of modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. From remote deposit options to online mortgage applications, we are happy to serve you wherever you are. Learn more at dakotacommunitybank.com. That's dakotacommunitybank.com.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Piper's Western team of Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby would like to invite you to sit down and talk about the future of land planning. Whether you're looking at selling, buying, or options to hand it down to the next generation, Andy and Jim will lay out all of the options for you. It's a great time to buy or sell, and with interest rates to make it profitable. Piper's Western team, Andy Murdoch and Jim Sabby. For more information or land updates, go to pifers.com.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition continuing here on the opening of East River deer season in South Dakota. Good luck to all you folks on the East River side of things. Hopefully the weather cooperates with you a little bit. I'm not sure what you have down that way, but man, is it white in my neck of the woods. John Arman from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV is my guest. We're talking game management. We're talking everything from farming practices, managing the grasses. Now, let's go through some more text, John. I have more comments. Are you ready? Because this is something people care about, and I'm proud of this. I'm not sure, because I for the most part, I'm going to say the messages I get from people, the people that are listening to me, are very pro ag and pro hunting. All right. And what I like about it is a lot of these folks are actually in their tractors, probably feeding right now and commenting. So you're hearing it from the people on the boots on the ground. So on the YouTube side, Tim says, after the soybeans and corn were planted this spring, the wind eliminated the seedlings, forcing reseeding of those crops. Prior to the snowfall this month, the harvested soybean fields are actually blowing, which is, I think, blowing dirt is the worst thing that you can see on any farm ground. I know sometimes you can't help it, but I remember in the 80s, John, my dad was just struggling. We went out and tried to spread manure on top of our fields just to keep the dirt down. And that's when CRP started coming in. And then he also said employees of the farmers who bulldoze down their trees, burn cattails. He says those guys actually come to his place and ask to hunt because he's got more of the habitat on his area. So I'd like to know, Tim, I'd like to know kind of where you're at so I can kind of put a visual to this. Otherwise, Schriefer Red Angus sale coming up at the end of January. But Mark Schriefer says on his ranch, we have definitely seen a great improvement in the wildlife when we have grazed and crop farmed with a mindset in which we aren't raping everything. He says the cattle,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Bingo.
the cattle, crops, and wildlife all benefit, but the biggest benefit is the land. We have been blessed
Yes,
not
and
to get every blade of grass just to make a living here. Ask Riley how many phone calls he's gotten about shooting deer on the ranch, and he finished it up. He says, with a healthy ecosystem, it benefits everything. I think that pretty much sums it up there, John, because if you take care of the land will take care of everything else.
Yes, and that's like you said. When I got that one rancher's place that I told you about, that is absolutely amazing. And again, he chooses to do that. He has chose not to take any payments. He's chose to leave a second cutting alfalfa. He's chose to put in trees. He chooses all that, and that's why he's super successful. And I think it's not. He loves animals, and I'm talking wild animals and his cattle.
Yeah.
I mean, he treats them the same almost, and it's like that's why he has a place. And again, not everybody chooses to do that. That's their choice. That's the great thing about living in America. If you want to graze your place down and rape and pillage it, it's your land. But in the long run, it's better, like you said, to take care of it because it will take care of you.
Absolutely. Now, kind of a change, but not really, because you and I, what I like about having you on the radio program, John, is we can have a conversation. Whether or not you and I agree all the time or don't disagree, it's still a conversation, and that's what I like. So thank you for that. Message comes in from Jason, says, great show. Thank you. I appreciate that. First of all, I want to say I'm not one for more regulations or restrictions, but what are your guys' thoughts on everyone and their uncle that comes over here to bow hunt mule deer? Now, I'm guessing he's talking to the western side of North and South Dakota. There is a lot of deer, in quotations, bucks shot during bow season. I'm sure this won't be a popular discussion, which, hey, John and I are more than happy to take this discussion on. He says, what do you guys say about possibly making it a draw to get a muley with a bow tag in the Badlands or the western sides of North and South Dakota? What do you say, John? Should it be a draw for archery? Because right now, okay, so to clarify for our South Dakota listeners, this guy is texting from North Dakota. And in North Dakota, the archery tags are what I say over the counter, even though you have to go online to get them now. But anybody can get it over if you're a resident, and you can hunt statewide. What do you say, John? Should there be a draw for archery in these, they call them the sought after units over here for mule deer hunting, right?
Yep. And again, I know I have never hunted the Badlands with my bow. So I haven't been out there to see the pressure, to see what's going on. But from what I'm hearing, it's getting tougher and tougher out there.
Very much so.
So again, I think we have like 30,000 bow hunters in North Dakota between our residents and non-residents. I think there's a certain allocation of non-resident tags. So, right, Randy Birdsong comes up and hunts with me. He can get a whitetail over the counter, or he has to put in. But if he wanted to get a mule deer, he'd have to put in for it. And I think you probably get drawn every 4 years.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think it's 15% of the rifle tag, whatever it is. Yeah.
I think it needs to be looked at. I really do. And I know this is going to be an unpopular one with people, and they're going to hammer me on this. If you own land out in the Badlands and you have a gratis tag, I think you should be able to fill it with whatever you want. And I think you should be able to get your archery tag and be able to shoot whatever you want on your own property, because it's your property. And people will argue with me. We need to take care of the landowners. We got to quit biting the hand that feeds us, because North Dakota is 96% private land. And I think people don't understand that. A guy said it to me the other day, harassing me, but I think he was joking, but I think he was also, kind of saying this is how he feels, but he didn't want to sound terrible. And I just told him, I said, yes, I'm lucky I have private land, but I said, you understand that, I said, every hunter in North Dakota, I said, I don't know what the percentage of landowners versus non-landowners, but I said, every one of those non-landowners is hunting, majority of them are hunting private property. So we need to take care of the guys that are taking care of the wildlife and taking care of the land, so that we have the access. Because if we start upsetting the landowners and we upset the farmers and ranchers, they control hunting in North Dakota. There's no question they control it. That's why you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar, type deal. So you got to start taking care of them. And if we got to give them an extra gratis tag or an extra thing, I don't see anything wrong with that. Some people are going to complain and say that, because I hear people all the time get mad about gratis tags. You start taking gratis tags away from ranchers, they're going to start shutting things down. Guaranteed. I mean, think about if you got lost all your tags and you didn't have any right to get a gratis tag and stuff, what would you do? Would you be happy or would you be
exactly
a little bit upset? Right.
Yeah, I hear
So
you.
I think we need to look at that in the Badlands. I think that every good bow hunter would agree that, he would rather have a chance of going out there, every 4 years or every 3 years and shooting a nice deer and having an opportunity. But again, I don't hunt out there, so I can't say for sure, but I don't think it's a bad thing to look at.
Maybe a guy should choose. If you want over-the-counter archery tag for a whitetail, keep it like it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go after certain units in the Badlands or, whether it's North or South Dakota. I mean, South Dakota does this already kind of. They have different, whether it's Black
Right.
Hills or East River, West River. I mean, they individualize it a little bit more, which I think is something to look into. I think they're ahead of the game on that. But if you're going after the coveted mule deer, I think you may need to look into that. Now, comment comes in, says, Darren says, as the younger generations are taking over a lot of these farms, he says in his area, it's getting harder and harder and tougher to get private land access because of the younger generation. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that there's more people hunting. I think that, in the old days, when you look back when your dad was still around, my dad was still around, they say our numbers were higher. Okay. But I think when you look at it, it's kind of like everybody just bought a hunting license and that's what they go off of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now the guys that buy a hunting license and deer hunt are pretty serious about it. So that younger generation probably has 4 or 5 friends that are serious hunters that hunt with him. In the old days, they may have not had that many guys and that many family members that hunt that property. So it is getting tougher. There's no question, because I've seen it just drawing tags or whatever. But again, it's one of those deals of getting out there hustling. I think the guys that always hustle and always help the rancher will always have a place to hunt. I can guarantee you that if someone went out and fixed fence at your place every year, he would have a place to hunt.
So you hit the nail on the head. I had taken a call yesterday. I was out feeding cows, and my friend Riley from Shreveport Red Angus called me, and he's hunting elk in Montana, and put a lot of hours out that way, and wasn't successful just yet. But there's still time, right? And he said that the same thing there. He's like, what really gets him is, you get drawn for your deer tag, your rifle tag in what, June? July?
Yeah.
And you don't hear from anybody until like the opening day or the last weekend. That's when they start talking to you.
Yeah.
And which is hard. That's hard for some of these people to take. And the same way, you talk about back in the day. I mean, the people that came down and hunted were my dad's friends.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to take over that same place, it'd be my friends, right?
Right.
It would, so it's changing that way here. Another text comes in here. These new compound bows are amazing. It makes it somewhat easier to be able to get your deer.
Well,
in a sense, maybe.
I've missed quite a few times.
Yeah.
It is, and I think that people are taking longer shots, and some guys are real good at it. But
yeah.
I think that, with everything, and everything makes it a little bit easier nowadays compared to the old days.
Yeah.
But again, we have more abundance of wildlife, and everything kind of evolves. So I don't know. It does make it easier, but I'll be the first one to say, as much as I practice, my deer this year, I hit him October 5th. I hit him high in the shoulder. I shot perfect, but he dropped, and I hit him in the shoulder, and that's hunting.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to shoot him with my rifle then. So,
well, you still have to be able to use the equipment that, no matter how good it is.
Yeah, and you should practice. And
absolutely.
So I don't know what that thing out in the Badlands, Scotty. I think it's going to be a good one, and guys will say like a one tag system.
Well, so here's another thing. Okay, so let's talk about, should it be a draw, because there's a lot of hunting pressure in the Badlands. Let me ask you this: if there's a good spot where bow hunters are, even if you get drawn, they're still going to be overpopulating that area. It's
Well,
not
it
like
is,
it's
and
going
I
to
think
spread them out anywhere, right? I mean, if there's a really good area where they usually go to every year, if they get drawn, they're going to go to it every year
well,
that
and
they
I
get
I
drawn.
do like right, and I do like you said, like South Dakota, Wyoming has done some of the stuff that you have to hunt specific areas. You have to have like an A or B tag, means you hunt private property or you hunt public property. So they allocate, a certain amount of tags for that public property. So, to me, if it's carte blanche on things, then it overpopulates, and it's no different. We have 10 guys that hunt our ranch. If we all took bucks off every year, we wouldn't have any good deer left.
Yep.
So you have to manage it, and it's hard to manage public land.
Yeah.
And that's one of the nice things about some of the block management land they try to do, is where it's type 1 or type 2, is they only let certain amount of people in. I still think they let too many people in, but you think of your ranch, it would take a year to 2 years of opening up to the public and it would be decimated.
Yeah.
And so we have to somehow manage it and
Even
make it
even private land gets overhunted somehow. So,
right.
Some places.
It does. And some of the people, we put so much emphasis on big game, there's so many things, so many opportunities out there, whether it's squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, coon hunting, coyote hunting, all these things that, aren't as glamorous, but we put all this time and money into the big game hunting, and I'm no different. But there's a lot of opportunity out there for kids, because we talk about the youth, and it's like, how many parents are taking their kid rabbit hunting and squirrel hunting and some of these things that you're going to have no problem getting access to, and it's just as much fun, but it's all about shooting that big buck.
Yeah. So I got to get a few comments here before we go here for the hour. Levi chimed in and says, I definitely have had success getting private land access. I think it's all how you go about it. Spent a lot of time working cattle for people who give me the opportunity to hunt on their land. But he says, I also understand not everybody can do that and make that effort, because of their jobs, right? I mean, not everybody can just take off a week and go out and help somebody. I understand that. Waylon says, I have to get myself and cash out to your place to do some fencing. Now, before you make that offer, just understand that fencing this ground is there's a lot of old fence, John. Some of it's 100 years old, and it'll frustrate you trying to stretch a wire once in a while. So
if I come out and fix fence with you, I get to pick the quarter.
Nope. I get to pick where you guys go fix fence, and it's going to be the places I hate. No, I'll tell you, it does mean a lot though, because just getting around those fences, making sure your cattle stay in, it's all part of being a good neighbor. And there's no doubt. But when you talk about gratis tags, I was thinking about that too, just around me. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 neighbors. And only 2 of those 6 neighbors get gratis tags. The rest of them don't even hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, deer, if we're talking deer, I mean, they might hunt coyotes or what have you and stuff like that. But so, I mean, not everybody that's a landowner gets a gratis tag. Not even do they want it. Not even do they hunt. So there's a lot of opportunity for those people that if you know of any of them, go in there and say, hey, would you care if I help manage some of these deer in your property? Because they don't do it.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I've always said that, and I've noticed throughout the years that things have changed. In the old days, I could get my gratis tag the last day of the season if I wanted to, and it'd be $1. And then I like that, because there was ranchers, guys that forgot about it, may never put any effort into it, but saw a good deer in their place, so they'd go get a tag.
Mm-hmm.
And now the game official will tell you, yeah, you can still do that, but you'll only get a doe tag.
Right.
Right. I struggle with that. Even if I wasn't a landowner, I would struggle with that, because I just feel that we need to take care of the people that are managing the wildlife and that are putting the time and effort into it.
So I know we got to go here pretty quick here, but what would you say if that landowner got a gratis tag and he wanted to sell it?
Yeah, I have no problem.
But he'd have to prove that money that he sells it for goes back into fencing materials, water, or weed spraying or something. I mean, he'd have to turn in receipts for that.
Yeah, and again, I'm not sure if I would go for selling it so that you're like, say you got a 200-inch deer and you're selling it for $100,000. Is that, profiting off of wildlife? Well, I
Well,
don't
it is.
know.
I mean, that's what they do with
I
one of
know.
the sheep tags in North Dakota.
Right.
They make a lot of money off of that.
Right. So, and it's one of those deals that I don't know if I would want to turn it into all about money. But I would think that a landowner, if he wants to sign his tag over to his granddaughter, to his best friend, to whoever he wanted to, he could just sign it over. Get rid of the money part of it and
Okay.
say that if it's your tag, you're the landowner. So if you want to sign it over to a certain person every year, it's kind of like a landowner sponsorship tag. Because one of the parts I always tell people, I say, you got to remember all these tags, I understand we don't own the deer, but you're allocating all these deer tags from the number of deer that are on private land.
Mhm.
So give that landowner a little bit of, what's due to him because of the work that they put into it. So if that would make it easier and open up maybe more doors for somebody, I think we have to look at stuff like that so that we can keep that opportunities and keep the landowner happy. Because just think, if we had to hunt only public land here in North Dakota, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would be overrun, just like a lot of the plots ground that's right next to us here. I mean, it's just like a orange army out there, and it's just, there's no more deer left on it. They chase them all off, very quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. Like I said, again, I always say that Game and Fish has a tough job.
I
whether
wouldn't
they're
want that.
managing deer, or is it just managing people? Because you're supposed to be managing the deer herd, but it gets into managing social issues and things like that. So it's not an easy job.
Nope.
And again, I may have a love-hate relationship with them, but I appreciate everything they do.
Well, that's with everything. And that's why we have the conversations that we have on the radio program like this, and open it up for anybody to call in and take part of that. There's no doubt. Well, John, coming up to the end of the show here, 40 seconds left. How do people find Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV online? How do they find you?
Online, you can go to our YouTube channel. I try to keep things updated. I think I'm a couple shows behind. And we also run on KOTV. It is a streaming service that's on Roku. It's also online, so you can go look there and catch us on our local stations here in Western North Dakota.
All right. John Arman from Ultimate Outdoor Adventures TV. Appreciate you coming on the program. And thank you, radio stations, for keeping this live and local program continuing every day. Eat some meat, drink some milk, have yourself a good weekend, stay out of the wind. All right, stations, thank you so much. John, appreciate it, my friend.
Oh, man, I enjoy it always.
Let me double check, make sure there's no more comments that we have to get on the YouTube side of things. No, none on there. We should be good.
All right. What do you got going the rest of the day?
Well, I'm going to go feed cows. I don't know. I'm really debating on, Dixie says that we need wild game in the freezer this year. And after not seeing anything, I'm just debating if I can find a dry doe or something like that, or I don't know. Really fighting my head on that right now. I'm going to hook up the skid steer snow blower. I'm got to blow out a whole bunch of trails to get feed.
Yep.
I got to clean out around the haystacks and move some things around the yard. So just kind of clean up the yard a little bit. So if it does start melting, it's not going to make a big muddy mess here where I need to park vehicles.
Yeah. What did you guys end up getting for snow total out there?
I'd say a good 12 inches or better. Yeah. Right around there.
And I'm going to say we got at least 20.
Yeah.
It was like I said, I loved it because it's going to sound terrible, but it slowed the pressure down. Because I honestly, during rifle season, I feel a little bit bad because of the amount of pressure that these deer get in some of these areas. And so you had to be a pretty diehard deer hunter to be out there. And you have to be in shape, because I don't recommend anybody with heart condition going out there.
Well, and that's a problem that I've had here is nobody gets out of their vehicles,
Yep.
It's literally private on both sides of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And
so why are you driving? Right?
Why are you parked right there looking? I mean, I just don't understand it myself. But
yeah, I hear you. And I shouldn't say, because if I'm driving by private land and I see a big buck, I'm gonna stop and look at it. But but again, if you're harassing them and driving back and forth, that's a little different.
Yeah. No, I just try to keep get all the chores done here this morning. I got a couple of calves. I got one replacement bull calf I'm going to keep here out of my herd. I really like the looks of him, and a couple of cows I'm going to feed out a little bit better here and just kind of do a few things. And
well, if you ever get to town and you're not busy, just give me a call. I know you were here for that bucks or that whatever you call it,
bucks for bras.
Yeah, if you ever get here and you got nothing going on, give me a call. We'll go have lunch or dinner or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have came to that, man. That was what a fun night we had. We broke a record there that night.
Well, that's awesome. I think this time of year is like my worst time because I'm always behind on shows. So all I do is edit.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna try to help my wife paint the ceiling today, and she goes, "No, you're not." No, I'm gonna go tomorrow. I'm gonna stay and help you paint. Really? Yeah.
What the hell?
She goes, you better do a good job.
I would rather you kick me in the ball sack than help somebody paint. I hate painting so much.
She usually does it when I leave for big trips, but she asked me to help with the ceiling, and I felt bad because I said, "No, I'm going to the ranch." She goes, "Can't you go tomorrow?" I'm like, "Well." So that's what I'm going to do today.
Okay. All right, man. Well, have yourself a good one.
Man. You too.
You bet. See ya. All righty. Oh, YouTube. We're still here. Sorry about that. I'm just sitting here, thinking that we were not on YouTube at all. So have yourself a good day. Appreciate you guys tuning in and staying with me here all day. And catch you next week.